Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Peak and Flow podcast. My name is Dave Nixon and this is yet another episode of the BSFT30 series, and the topic for today is to take your power back. And I wish I just had continual Rage Against the Machine theme song playing in the background, but it's not that I'm referring to, although maybe there's some correlations. What I'm really referring to is people being able to understand when they're handing their power over and when they sit in a space, even though they may hate the word victim or blame or all that sort of stuff, but it can be sometimes so subtle, and I apologize in advance. You can hear the mechanics in the background. It can be sometimes so subtle with this sort of blame and victimness, and it can be... I'll give you examples, you'll see. Anyway, the point here being is to take your power back. Now, this can happen in a multitude of different ways where we lose our power handed over. And it can be, there's a term called over-responsible, and it's when we're actually, it could be genuine care for someone else, which is, it's nuanced because sometimes the care for someone else is actually care for self, because if I'm caring for you, then I feel good. So in order to care for me to feel good, I actually have to care for you. And it's this really weird sort of nuanced codependency that's on behalf of love, but it's on behalf of still seeking to feel good about being useful to you. And that can be a hard pill to swallow, but a really important one that I had to swallow as well. And so we can move from over-responsible from this sort of conditional self-esteem, and I'm yet to meet someone who doesn't have conditions on their self-esteem, or maybe if the individuals that I have met, it'd be less than what I can count on one hand. And so these conditions on self-esteem can be, once again, subtle. They're often strategies for success. So people that are highly successful are actually like driven from these conditions on their self-esteem. If that didn't have that success, who would you be? Would you be worth anything? All this sort of stuff. It's a really interesting thing. But when my baby girl was born, I didn't look at her and go, well, she needs to do this in order for me to love her, or for her to be worth anything. We are born unconditional when it comes to our self-esteem. We learn the conditions as we go, and commonly we call it personality. But that's a whole nother kettle of fish. And a lot of this can lead to burnout. I've had a client once in her early age, like she literally had chronic fatigue at 18. We use a tool called Identity Compass, and what it can do is it objectively measures the value that people hold on particular patterns of thinking. And her massive drivers were like care for others, second person perspective, not her perspective, but someone else's perspective, the external world. It was a lot of activity and doing. And so she had so much care and like energy and all this for everyone else that she literally ran into chronic fatigue at the age of 18. So this is what I mean when I talk about take your power back. No one is ever going to take care of you. And if they are, I hope it's from a space of, I'm injured that I can't take care of myself, as opposed to being a healthy individual that is able to do what you need to do. Now, real love isn't necessarily doing things for other people that they could do themselves. And yes, of course, there's probably examples around the home or whatever. That's a partnership. It's different. I'm talking about if you want someone to be strong and powerful, you let them be the hero of their own story. A lot of people want to go around helping people, and it is like the gym. It is like someone in the gym, and they're there and they're watching everyone, and as soon as someone struggles, they go over and help and they pick up the weight for them. That struggle is where they grow. And so even though they don't want to see that person in pain, that struggle is actually how the person grows. And so what this person, the spotter that's running around the gym trying to help everyone, is doing is actually limiting everyone. They're disempowering everyone. And a lot of people are doing that in their day-to-day life, and they're doing it on behalf of care, and they're doing it on behalf of self-worth, but so much of their power is embedded outside of them. And I'm going to talk through that today. There's a story I like to tell, and it's this idea of like, and this ties into this idea of self-worth is in the eyes of someone else. It's like the shirt I'm wearing. Let's say I see you and I go, hey, that's a really nice shirt. Or I go, hey, that's a really shit shirt. Sometimes we think one's judgment and one's a compliment. They're both judgments. They are both judgments. Me saying I like this, me saying I don't like this, they're both judgments. They're both subjective and they're both opinions. When we can get to a place where neither criticism nor praise can affect us, that is a place of like pure beauty. It is absolute pure. And the reason being, it doesn't mean like that there's just this beige, like monk-like experience where nothing it's not that. It's just, and it's nice to receive compliment, or whatever the case might be. But you don't know why that person is complimenting you. Some people might actually be complimenting you, or you might be doing this to someone else, because you want that person to like you, or that person wants you to like them. Or you might remind them of someone. So it's actually got nothing to do with you. You just remind them of their uncle that they love that they don't see anymore. And so they compliment you and you're like, oh my God, I feel amazing. But that person's like, I miss my uncle. It's nuanced here once again, but what I'm getting at is that praise and criticism are the same thing. So if you are always just adapting based on what everyone else is saying, praise or criticism, it's like everyone's giving you a shirt. And so you get up in the morning, you go outside and you see the neighbor, they're like, hey man, lovely to see you. I think you're the best neighbor. I don't know why I started here, but I think you're the best neighbor, and you put on this best neighbor shirt. You're like, sick, great bloke, here I am. And then as you are driving, you have a little tiff with someone in traffic and they're like, you're a dickhead. And so now you got to put a dickhead shirt on, but it doesn't matter as much. You don't see that person again. Then you get to work and someone's like, oh, I don't like this about you. I don't like that about you. Someone else is like, oh my God, you're amazing. You're constantly changing your shirts, right? And you're constantly, and the reason why I say shirt is because you're wearing other people's opinions and it's changing how you're showing up and how you're looking, right? How you feel. So when we get to the space when either praise or criticism actually touches us, then that's when we can genuinely accept it based on going, oh, if the person doesn't like that, why is that? Rather than personalizing it, rather than taking it on, seeing that's their shit. However, I'm interested to see what you can see that I can't. This is a beautiful space to be in. I'm not saying that everyone can be perfect and everyone can be in that space all the time, or that I am. Absolutely not. What I do know is that when you're in this space and when I'm in this space, you can absolutely operate at your best and you can fundamentally honor the person in front of you by honoring yourself. Because you are never as bad as they say you are, and you are never as good as they say you are. That's crucial. You are never as bad, nor never as good. And if I can offer you one more thing on that, let people be upset with you. Let people not like you. Let people be upset with you. Let people figure out what they're going on. Because people are allowed to not like you. And some people not listening to this being like, well, duh. Some other people will be going, oh my God, how can people not like me? It's like, well, because if you're constantly adapting and adjusting to whoever someone's meant to be, guess what? If they like you, they're not even liking you. They're liking the image that you're attempting to show them so that they like you, but they don't like you. And this is why I can feel hollow and empty, because you're constantly shape-shifting based upon what you think they will like, as opposed to just being you. Allowing yourself to just be you means that people will take it or leave it, because they're doing that anyway. But if you create an image where someone doesn't like it, then usually it means, oh, that's a cat. It doesn't bother me as much. But the same thing will happen if they do like it. That's why it feels empty. So let people be upset with you. And if your growth upsets someone, they're not in the relationship for the best of you. They're in the relationship for them. Within reason, but if your growth upsets someone, they're making it about them. The people that care about you will be able to, even in their own frustration, accept you and your growth as you go. There's a really powerful thing here around blaming, victim, and being powerless. And I mentioned before that the blame can sometimes be quite subtle, and the victiming can be quite subtle, and especially when we look at codependent patterns. And in a codependent pattern, there's aggressive, victim, and rescuer. And so commonly, and I grew up around domestic violence and alcoholism. I grew up in a small country town in a pub, and I saw it firsthand from the age of 10. And I saw this aggressor, and I saw a victim, and I saw the rescuer. And here's what I learned, is that each one of those identities actually needs the other identity in space to be able to hold the identity. If the victim, whether they're aware of it or not, doesn't have an aggressor, then they become the aggressor in order to become the victim again. It's this real weird nuanced thing where it's like we need to move past that space of codependency through love and education. And when I say love, I actually mean space and just holding space for someone. That victim, aggressor, rescuer can also happen with things. So people will say something like, Oh, I can't train without my training shoes. So I'm a victim to the training session because the training session, the shoes rescue me. A better example might be I can't relax without a wine. I can't dance without a wine. Or the best one, I can't start my day without coffee. The day is the aggressor, coffee's a rescuer, I'm the victim to it. All of these small little things gives your power away. I remember attending a workshop by Dmitry Klokov, a Russian weightlifter. And he spoke about, he used to lift with a belt when he was younger. And then one comp he showed up to, and his coach would actually have the belt. And the coach forgot the belt. And he bombed all his lifts. And what he had learned was that he became codependent on this belt, this external thing outside of him. And he ended up bombing all his lifts. So he's like, I'm never using that again, so that never happens to me again. He was a victim that day to that, and so he made a decision afterwards to never need that ever again, become independent in that space. That's a small example there of being able to move through that. But the key thing here is this blame, victim, and this powerlessness. And the goal that I have, and I'm going to tell you how to do it in a sec, is to help make sure people are aware of when they give their power away. Last podcast, I spoke about the story of me saying that no one can frustrate me. I frustrate me in the face of them. That's the key thing. If I say you frustrate me, I actually give my power away, and I'm at a whim to you pressing my buttons. But I created the buttons, and I'm letting you press them, and then I'm blaming you. I am now powerless to you because you're the one pressing my buttons. So take your fucking power back, for Christ's sake. Take it back. This is a harsh story. It's a very loving story, and I mean that in the sense that this was a real conversation I had with someone, and it was from a place of care, even though it was quite firm. It was a coaching call, and they had not long broken up with their partner, and their partner was quite verbally and emotionally abusive. And they said, "I cannot believe that they did that to me." And I said, "Why did you let them?" Pardon? Why did you let them? What do you mean? Why did I let them? It's like, well, they can't do that without your permission. And absolutely blew her mind. She was like, why did I let them? And then we went down a path of self-discovery. Until that person could see the role that they played in that relationship, that person cannot grow. Did the other person probably behave in a way that was poor and negative and could be held account? Potentially, but they're not on the call. That person was. I had that person's best interest at heart. So that is, how did you put yourself in a position to be able to be in that, and how do you never do that again? Take your fucking power back. Rage Against the Machine. So how do we do this? Well, let's look quickly first at the circle of power, which is doing a circle of influence, all that sort of stuff. But we have 4 things within our power: speech, behavior, thoughts, and feelings. And some people will go, you can't control that. Sure, whatever. You can control your speech, you can control your behavior. You may not be able to control your thoughts. What you can do is control the thoughts that you deem to be true. Your feelings, you can control. Your emotions, you may not control, because emotions and feelings are 2 different things. Emotions are energy in motion. It is a physical, visceral response that occurs within our body. Our feelings are how we describe those things to us. Are you scared? Are you anxious? Are you excited? Are you tired? Are you sleepy? Are you low energy? Feelings are how we describe our emotions. So you are in control of your speech, your behavior, your thoughts, and your feelings. 2 things on the outside, 2 things on the inside. And when we give any one of those things away, we lose our power. It starts to seep. And then we become a victim, yes, to the whims of the world around us. So to be able to really gain flexibility is to learn how to keep these things in place, to take ownership of all of these things. So if you are feeling a particular way and you go, that person made me feel like this, you have to catch that and be like, oh, why am I feeling like this when that person does that? There we go. That's us going in and figuring that out. And now we're learning to take our power back, and we don't want to respond like that anymore. We've got pathways to move down. If we just blame the other person, it goes back to that map of the territory where it's like, you're behaving different to how you're meant to behave in my map, and I don't like it, so I can't control how I'm responding, so I'm going to try and control you to go back and act like you were so that my map goes back to its homeostasis. That is somebody out of control. You're trying to control someone else because you can't control your speech, your thoughts, your behaviors, and your feelings. So your power's there. No one can upset you. If you get that in your system, you gain flexibility. It's going to be tough, but it's tough not, right? Short-term pleasure, long-term pain. Short-term pain, long-term pleasure. If you do this and you move into a season of no, a theme of no, an era of no, and no is on reference to saying no to the things that you used to say yes to that lead you away from the best version of you, for you standing in your power, because that is the best thing that you can do for everyone else. You wanna help everyone else? You help yourself to be the hero of your story, because that will inspire others to be the hero of theirs. And even if it doesn't inspire someone to be the hero of theirs, it's not your responsibility to do that. What is your responsibility is to take care of you and to be the best version of you, and that is the best gift that you can give anyone else. So when you stand in your power, you have this unconditional self-esteem, and this is not like a light switch and that happens forever and always. It is like a wave coming in, a wave coming out, and there's days where it's easier and there's days where it's harder. But over time, like anything, you get better and better and clearer. But if you don't walk down that path, then you'll stay stuck where you are. So ultimately, it's up to you and your choice. And that's what I offer you more than anything. But it's your job to take care of you. And in doing so, you put yourself in the best position to take care of everyone else. And on that note, team, I'm done. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this, I'd love it if you share it with a friend you think would also enjoy this. If you want to learn more about any of our programs, they're going to be in the show notes below. If you have any questions, by all means, reach out. Otherwise, that's me done. I'm out. Until next time. Peace and pizza. I'll see you soon.